Hello everybody, welcome to another session of Python for NLP. In this video we are going to look at how we can input data to the program and also output the data after running a program, not to the screen but to a file. We are going to look at 4 ways of doing this: command line data, standard input, keyboard input, file input, output. The simplest way to have your programs respond to new data is to enter that data on the command line when you invoke the program. This is quite simple to do. There is a predefined list variable sys.argv that contains a list of all command line arguments given when the program is invoked. To invoke this, we use the command import and we import the sys module. There are problems with this kind of inputting data, but before looking at the problems, let's look at how this program can be run. I have written a program already using your sys.argv. First, we import the sys module, and this program is nothing but a different version of what we have already done, counting vowels in a given word. So we create a variable and assign the vowels to that variable, and then we create another variable word, and we use the predefined sys.argv variable assigned to it, and it takes only one argument now because we have given one. Then we have the counter to count for iteration and the vowel count for counting vowels. Then we are using while loop. While counter is less than length of the word, and then if word that counter, maybe first one is 0, is in vowels, then vowel count increases by 1. Then we also have the counter increase for 1. Else, once that is the counter doesn't match with the length of the word, or is more than the length of the word, then it prints there are vowel count. Vowel count is the whatever vowel count which is already there, and then vowels in this word, right? Okay, now how does this run? To run this program, we have saved the program as vowelcount.py, and we go to the terminal. In fact, wherever that file is saved, in fact we go to that directory and then type the command to run the program: python 3 vowel count.py, and let's give a word cat. It says there are 1 vowels in this word, right? Let's give another word. Let me give my name. Let me see how many vowels are there in my name. There are 4 vowels in this word, right? How is it doing? It's actually counting the vowels and giving it to us. Because we have only 1 argument, we are giving 1 word. If we do not give any word, what happens? It runs into an error. That means you haven't given any argument. If you give more than 1 word, there are 3 words now, what does it do? It still takes only the first word and gives the result, right? Because we have specified only 1 argument with sysargv. So there are problems with this command line data. All words must be entered by hand, right? And there is in fact an upper bound on the number of words that can be entered like this. How many words can you enter, right? There are 80 words you can enter, not more than that. So these are the problems with this command line. In the program we have seen, it takes only one argument. Let's have an improvement over that. Let it take more than one argument, right? Here is a program which is modified and it takes more than one argument. We have used import sys for importing the sys module, and as usual we have given assigned vowels to the vowels variable. Then we have used a for command to have iteration over the number of words which you give, and we also used colon after 1, right? sys.argv 1 colon, which means that it takes care of all the words which we give from the first word till the end. Then the rest of the program is same as what we have done. Let's see how this works. Python 3, we have saved this program as vowel count1.py, and we give all the words mat, cat, hat, rat, and see what it does. Now see, it works on all the words, right? And says mat has one vowel, cat has another vowel, hat also has one vowel, and rat also has one vowel, right? This is a simple modification of our earlier program, but still the problems remain. What is the problem? The problems have to be entered by hand and the number of words to be given. So let's see what we can do. An alternative that looks like command line input and gets around some problems we found in command line prompt is to use standard input stdin, and the program output material can be called standard output stdout, stdin and stdout. And as with command line arguments, the output of one program is available as input to a second program via a variable from the sys module again, but what we use is sys.stdin. This is the variable from the sys module, and in order to access the sys.stdin, we need to import, as we did earlier, we need to import sys module, right? Let's see how this works. We have modified the vowel count program to include sys.stdin, right? What is the modification? We are still importing sys, and vowels a, I, O are assigned to vowels, but we are adding a variable line with 1 as the value. Then we use for words in sys.stdin. Remember earlier we used sys.argv and 1 etc. Instead we are using stdin, right? And then we print the line number, but it's 1, and then for each word in words we are saying dot split etc., so that we are converting the string, whatever the string, into a list basically. And we are using the counter, and for counting vowels we have vowel count variable, and then the same logic whatever we have used. The only difference is we have used sys.stdin and we have converted the string into a list, and each member in the list is taken care, and that is compared with vowels whether it exists in it, right? And count vowels. Program works. To run this program we need to give input data to the program. How do we do that? We input data using the command echo. Because it's Mac, I'm using Mac OS. If you are using Windows, you use type. Okay, I'm using Mac, so echo mat, cat, rat, sat, and then I use what we call pipe, Python 3, and the program name is vowel count stdin.py. Look at this now. It has done for all the vowels, right? This is similar to what we have done earlier with the command line, but it's different in the sense that we give input using echo command, and then the program applies to that input and gives you the output. In fact, we can also run this in a different fashion, but there is a problem. How? Python 3 vowel count stdin.py, and then if I enter, it is looking for data now. If I say mat, it gives, see, this is line 1, there are vowels, 1 vowels in mat. If I say cat, this is line 2, there are 1 vowels in cat. If I say rat, line 3, and so on. But it is infinite loop. It can't come out like that. So we need to break it. So there is a problem with that. That's the problem. The problem is, as it takes the program, it takes any number of words, but it cannot come out. We need to have some command to come out of it. So I am ending the program here. Okay. So though standard input gives an option of inputting data in a different fashion, but the standard input also has the similar problems which we have seen with command line data, that is entering data by hand and upper bound on the number. So another way to input data is to request user to key in the input data. That is, you can write a program that pauses at a point of time and waits for the user to enter data. Once the user enters the data, that data is used for by the program to process. Right? There is a simple function called input and brackets, which takes actually a single string argument. And when this is executed, it prints the string argument and returns what the user types in as a response to the input. So for example, if you have a variable like name and you are assigning whatever the input which the user gives, so input and enter your name. Enter your name is printed, and the program waits for the user to enter his name. Once he enters, that is assigned to the variable name. Then it prints hello, that name. Right? This also actually has problem of entering the data manually, like what we have seen with the standard input and also command line data. But this function can be used very interestingly. Let's look at a program where you can guess letters. Look at this program. There is a module which is imported called random. What this module does is selecting items randomly from a given string. Right? So we have taken letters as a variable and assigned the alphabet A to Z as a string. Then we are taking another variable letter and we are using the letters, and randomly it is selecting from 0 to 25. What is 0 to 25? Remember, when you have the string, the first one is 0 and the last one is 25th. We have 26 letters, so 0 to 25. So randomly from the variable letters, whatever is assigned to letters, from there it is selected and assigned to letter. So while true, right, we are using boolean here, while true, now the user will be prompted to input a letter. Guess. Input, type a lowercase letter and if the guess is not in letters, then it says print that's not a lowercase letter, and it continues. If guess is the letter which is there randomly selected here, then it says that's right. Then it breaks because the user has correctly guessed the letter. If it doesn't happen, then it says it looks whether that guess letter is before or after. How does it do? It says guess greater than letter, right? That means the guess is after. Remember, look at the use of the comparative operator. It is used here not to say whether something is more or less. It is basically whether that letter occurs after, whether the guess is after the letter or before the letter, right? So if guess is greater than letter, then it prints it's earlier in the alphabet. If else, it prints it is later in the alphabet, right? Look at how this program works. Python 3, and what is the program name? Guessing letter.py, right? Type a lowercase letter. I type H. It is later in the alphabet, right? The letter which is guessed, the letter which the program has selected randomly is later. So let me say H-I-J-K. It's earlier. That means it's between H and I, H and K. So I'll say I. It's later row. So maybe J, yes, right? So this is how the program works now. What's interesting here is we are asking the user enter the letter. How? We are taking input, right? Where is that input? Here is this input. So this is keyboard input. What we have seen till now is the data which is very small. The input data is small. But if there is larger data, how do we do that? The usual way to input or output large amounts of data is from our two files. The basic idea is that your program is written to respond to any amount of data. The file contains data of the appropriate sort, and your program reads in that data and processes it for further processing, right? But the file shall contain data of the appropriate sort, and your program reads in that data and processes it either all at once or chunk by chunk as you desire, right? Contains appropriate sort in the sense it has to be either TXT file or Excel file or WAV file, etc. But we will be looking at only text files, right? But before we look at how this commands or this works, there is a word of caution: do not experiment with important files, because that may spoil your file. Create toy files to play with. Then when you do want to start working on your own files, do not use those files directly. You copy them and then use them, right? Finally, it's safest to create a new directory to learn file operations. So if you are working in the same directory, then what happens? You may lose certain files, right? So it's better to create a separate directory and then work on file input output commands. Okay. How do we use? A file opened can be used for reading, writing, or appending. So you can open a file and you can read whatever is there in that file, or you can open a new file and write something in that file, or you can open a file which already exists and append some more data to that, right? So any kind of file can be opened. However, we shall use only .txt files for understanding. How do you do that? The file opened shall be closed at the end. Remember, that's important. If you do not open the file, if you do not close the file, that exists and you cannot work on it. again. So file equal to open and the name of the file, and you give W. W is for writing. So there are two arguments for open command. One is name of the file and another is the function, whatever which you would like to do, write, read, or append is A. And at the end you have to close that file, whatever file you give the file name, and dot close, and this. You have another file also we have opened here, so another file dot close, right? Let's see how this works. So here is the program. Now the first one is out file is a variable to which we have assigned a file called new file.txt. We are opening it. It's a new file for writing. Okay, we have opened a new file for writing. Then we are going to open another file which already exists in file as a variable. Open a test file.txt. I have already created a file called test file.txt and I am opening it for reading, right? How do I read? Now this is the process. I read for line in file, in the in file, for each line print length of the line, then print length of the line, then a colon, then the line is printed, whatever is there in the text file, and it is separated, each line separated by a space and ends with a space. Okay, then I am also using out file here, dot write line. So whatever line which takes, that is written to our out file. What is out file? The new file .txt which we have opened, and we are closing the in file dot close text, and we should also close the out file. So close the new file. Let's see how this works. Okay, I said I have created a file called testfile.txt, right? And we are creating new file.txt with the help of this program. Let me show you the directory. See, this is a directory class programs where I have all the programs which I have used today, and there is a test file. This is a .txt, but you don't see any file which is called new file.txt, right? So we are going to create that. Let's go to the command. Let's say Python 3, and what's the file name? Open close file.py, right? Now what has it done? It has printed. It print length line. Yes, print length of the line. Now it is printing length of the line and the line which contained in the test file, right? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, 5 lines of text, and each line the length of the line is also printed, right? And we do not know whether it has created new file. How do we know whether it has created new file? Let's go to the drive. Can you see that there's a new file.txt here? Yes, right? So it has created new file.txt. Has it copied? What we wanted is whatever it has read from test file.txt has to be written to new file.txt. Has it done? Let's open new file text. How do you do that? Cat new file.txt. See, it has done that. It has given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. All the 5 lines have been written to new file.txt, right? Okay, this is how the opening and closing of a file works. So you can have an input file which is already there, which can be read by open file read, and then you can create a new file and you can write that text which is there in the old file into the new file. So this overcomes the problems which we have seen earlier. That is, there is no manual entering of data, and there is no limit on the number of words or number of the length of the data. So this is a very useful command for inputting data. See you in the next video.